to make your points. We have a backgrounder piece from John Reitmeyer of NJ Spotlight.
Two recent studies of state retirement plans from across the country rank New Jersey's pension system as the worst funded in the nation. So how did the state put itself in such a deep hole? Well, the problem has been many years in the making, and there's plenty of blame to go around. To maintain a healthy pension system, contributions have to flow in from both the employees and the employer, which in this case is the state of New Jersey. But for more than a decade and under governors from both political parties, New Jersey has consistently failed to live up to the full employer obligation that the actuaries have calculated, even though the employees have been living up to their end of the bargain. The current budget calls for nearly $2 billion into the pension system, which is about $3 billion less than actuaries have actually called for. All of that underfunding has left a huge gap, or an unfunded liability. By the state's own official estimates, that unfunded liability now measures close to $50 billion. That's more than the annual budget itself. And by some other calculations, the unfunded liability is actually much higher.
All right, let's talk about pensions. Mr. Wisniewski, you've promised full funding. How would you get there?
We need to fully fund our pension system because we need to live up to the obligations we've made to our public employees. The state has not made its share of contributions while the employees have. We need to create a long-term plan. Right now, we don't have the ability to do that. We have to go each year to each year. We need a constitutional amendment. But let's recognize that we have people here on the stage that are talking about standing with public employees and helping them out. And Phil here wrote the report that suggested that they should work longer and get less in order to fully fund the pensions. That's the kind of doublespeak we've seen in this campaign, and that's the kind of doublespeak that people are too frequently accustomed to in state politics, and that's got to change. We can fund our pensions by making sure every year we have a guaranteed payment through a constitutional amendment.
Would you impose a millionaire's tax to do that?
We would have to impose a millionaire's tax, but there are other taxes we have to do, Mike, too. We have to look at the disastrous estate tax cut that took $600 million out of the budget, the 1/8 cent sales tax cut that took another $600 million out of the budget, as well as the millionaire's tax. And let's not forget, legalizing marijuana and closing corporate loopholes. We can raise $2.7 billion.
All right, we'll give you a chance to reply, but Senator Lesniak, you've proposed doubling the millionaire's tax to bring in $1 billion. Doesn't that just drive people out of New Jersey?
Well, first of all, it would still be lower than New York and California, which have booming economies. And no employee, public or private, should have to worry about whether their pension is there when they retire. So we have to make sure that those funds that I intend to do, that I already proposed, will fully fund the pension so we can take that worry out of our employees. It's our obligation, and we have to fill it.
Mr. Johnson, you're committed to full funding of pensions as well. How will you pay for that?
We need to get the math right, and we haven't gotten the math right because we haven't been honest in our accounting. We haven't been clear in our budgeting. Many states have done that. So first, we need to understand and explain where the money is going. Second, we need to remember, as Senator Lesniak was talking about, people are suffering and they are worried, and so we need to stand with them. In terms of how to make the payments, I would gradually increase the quarterly payments. I would also raise the estate tax. Also, we have to look at the millionaire's tax because right now our funding plans don't work clearly. But to do this, we need to have a Trenton that's prepared to make hard choices. I've been able to make hard choices as a government executive in the Clinton administration, where I oversaw a budget of over $4.6 billion. And that's the sort of thing that we need to do as we move forward.
Follow up to you, Mr. Johnson. The governor and the legislature just phased out the estate tax. You'd cancel that and bring it back?
We have to look at all of our options. It is a dire situation. We know that, and we know it's unsustainable. And so, yes, I would look at the estate tax again. And yes, we have to consider raising it. We can't just hope that we're going to get to the numbers that we need to do. We have to do the hard math.
Mr. Murphy, someone Wisniewski said that when you chaired a pension panel for Governor Cody, I believe.
Correct.
You recommended making workers work longer for less pension at the end. What's your response?
Let me step back and
30 seconds,
say as a general matter here, we are a state that folks no longer trust. Public sector employees don't trust us. The rating agencies don't trust us. Many businesses don't. Our young people don't trust us. They leave the state in droves. It may be painful. We're going to have to become, again, a state that people trust. If you look at the so-called Murphy Report, recommendation number 1, no more pension holidays. No doublespeak. I stand proudly with public sector employees today, and I'm very proud of that report.
Does any of the 4 of you propose restoring the sales tax back up to 7% from?
I just did, Michael.
You just did.
I just did that.
I would
and
agree with John. One quarter of a cent is meaningless.
Well, it's going to go down eventually to a full penny, I believe. Does any of you believe that we need a second round of cuts in employee benefits? It sounds like the answer is no.
Well, the first thing we have to do,
Assembly.
Michael, is we have to live up to the obligations we made. I mean, this is one of the fundamental hypocrisies that we see going on right now. The fact is that these employees, every 2 weeks, they had a deduction taken out of their paycheck, and the state of New Jersey reneged on that promise. We can't run government by making promises that we're going to fix a problem by making the people who played by the rules pay even more. That's what Phil wants to do, and I disagree.
That's not accurate, but I would just say this. You can't keep leaving...
30 seconds.
Yeah, you can't keep leaving public sector employees at the altar as we've done. We can't talk about other concessions they should make. They've already made concessions, including ones that were jammed down their throat through Chapter 78 by Governor Christie. The state must step up and meet its obligations.
Quick 30 seconds each.
Yes. Phil mentioned that we need to have a government that we trust, but I am the only one that has proposed ethics reform. I am the one that insisted that we run the campaigns the way we expect to govern, by being clear about the electoral rules. I filed the complaint with the Watchdog Commission to make sure that all of us were playing by the same rules. It's not enough, apparently, to spend $18 million to win an election. You have to also hide other funds. That's not right.
Mr. Lesniak, and then we're going to move on.
And I'm the only one who proposes cuts and waste in government. I would put regular citizens on the major boards of the Port Authority, NJ Transit, as watchdogs over the rest of the group to make sure that they had a vote and a second that couldn't be tabled to make sure that we cut out waste in government. That has to be a major part of anyone's platform.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We have a social media question.